they represent. Just a very quick vignette, and that is to say that in June we hosted the UGM conference. UGM stands for University Government Industry Micro Nano Symposium, and basically it was a conference of all of our peers, the people who run research cleanroom facilities all over the world. We had 13 countries represented here at the university, 33 different states, institutions from state institutions as well as government research labs. And they all came here and we shared best practices together. And we learned a lot from them, and I think they learned a lot visiting our facilities here. So it was kind of a pain for those of you who were trying to look for us during that busy week, but we got a lot out of it, and I hope some of the things that we learned will become evident to you as we present some of our new systems and some of the new ways we want to be doing things around here. We'd like to invite you to interact with us. Raise your hands, ask questions. This is not just a presentation. We'd like to interact with you, and even, in fact, before we begin, does anyone have any questions about what we're trying to do today? Where's our agenda? And I'd also like to introduce Rachel and Amy, and you can talk about the sign-in logistics.
Okay, so I'm going to pass around the sign-in sheet. If you can just check, sign next to your name and check that your email is correct. Surface Lab students, we will be excusing you early, but cleanroom students, we're going to send around a second thing at the end that you have to sign so that we know you stayed for the whole time. So keep that in mind.
That's something that's required by EH&S, so it's
Yeah.
something we're doing for fun here.
Oh, and if your name is not on there, just add it to one of the blank lines at the back. Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about some billing changes that have recently happened. We've moved to a paperless billing system, so that means you'll no longer be getting campus orders. And the way this is going to work is you'll receive an email the first of the month, first working day of the month, that asks you to review your charges. And from that point, you have a week to let us know if there's anything that looks wrong, or if, we're billing the wrong project, anything like that. So the researchers, the lab users, their PIs, and their PIs admins will all receive the email. So there's no excuse for missing the deadline. You have to, 1 week from the email, that's it. And then your invoice will be automatically billed to your account around the 15th. If that's a Friday, or if it's a Saturday, it'll be on the Monday. But that's kind of the schedule you can plan for. And it's critical that researchers and PIs act responsibly for your time in the lab, and just communicate with the billing staff, which is me, about anything at all. Yeah.
So this supersedes I remember the cost adjustment request, you had like 3 days or something.
Oh, we'll get to that, yes. We've changed a few things, so thank you. So here is a visual representation. So this will be for our August bills. On September 1st, we'll email the reminder to look at your invoice. Lab members can submit cost adjustment requests. PIs and admins can let me know if the chart field needs to be changed. 1 week from the 1st, on the 8th, is the deadline for all corrections, and at that point I will do the billing stuff, and by the 15th your invoice will just be billed to your account. Yes, Ian?
I forgot to mention that these slides are available right now if you want to hold them up on your own device and look at these. Ryan, how will you do it?
From our website, under lab members, on the same page.
So, if you have any questions about what you're seeing here on the slides.
Excuse me. Can we have those lights turned off in front?
Lights off.
Ryan, can you, if we turn the lights down lower, will you be able to see the speaker with your camera?
That should be okay, yeah.
Okay. This is the number 3. Thank you.
Okay, and I don't know if we have very many off-campus users that have come today, but your process is a little bit different since we won't be billing anything automatically to your company. But kind of the same deal, we'll email you on the 1st, and then just please give it a week and let us know if there are any changes that we need to make. And then you'll still just get like an email from me with the invoice.
So you're all going to get this email on the first working day of the month. There will be a link for. There's going to be a link for all the projects that are on your account. So when you click on that link, this is what it will look like. This essentially is what your invoice is going to look like for the month. So here's the detail. This is what you will review. You can see that the unused reservations is separated out because we have to charge activities and not projects for those charges. And towards the bottom right-hand corner, there's a PDF icon. If you click on that, it will pull up what your invoice will look like, your final invoice, if you make no changes. So I know some of you have asked.
So then where it says view a detailed list of charges, oh sorry. So that will give you the information for every single line item, and if you have the unused reservation fee, you can see what day it was and what time, and just more detail if you need to look at it. So any questions on that? Okay. So we just also wanted to emphasize that if you miss the deadline for submitting a request to correct something, too bad, I guess. We can't be flexible, we won't be flexible on that. And changes that need to be made after this date will have to be done by your department. And it goes through the office of the vice president, and it's very embarrassing for the accounting staff. So just really try to, and there's these guys are embarrassed. So just try to keep that in mind, try to be responsible so that it make it easier for everyone. Okay, so we're going to talk about unused reservations. So if you make a reservation and you don't cancel it and you don't use it, you're billed for an unused reservation. And that's where we have to bill it to an activity, not your project. So some of you know about the 2-hour cancellation policy, but we've modified that recently. You can cancel the reservation in 15-minute increments. So for example, if you have a reservation from 9 to 10 and you remember and you go in and cancel at 9:07, you're only going to be billed from 9 to 9:15. And from 9:15 to 10, you won't be billed. Does that make sense to everybody? None? Yes? Okay. So you are not billed for your unused reservations if the tool is shut down, if there's a power outage, or when somebody encroaches on your reservation. So what that means is if I have a reservation at 10, but Amy's using the tool, and I go in and she's still using it at 10:30, then it just is, I won't be billed for my reservation because obviously I couldn't use the tool. So if you abuse the reservation system, if you are constantly having these unused reservation fees, you might get in trouble. So try not to. Okay, so this is the link to the cost activity adjustment page. I recommend that everybody bookmark it because you should be using this all the time if you think you have any kind of problem on the tool and you don't want to be billed for it. If there's a tool problem, but it's not shut down, but like, you know, something's not working right, so you couldn't do your thing, just submit the request and let us know what happened. Like I said, when the tool is shut down or if there's a power outage, you immediately won't be billed for any of your reservations during that time. So you don't have to do anything for that. And then again, for like tool shutdowns, we have like a 2-hour before and 2-hour after grace period because, you know, you don't know exactly like when the tool will be back up, and so just keep that in mind. We ask that you submit these adjustments within 1 week of the event that you want adjusted, but at the, like, I will accept them through the 8th of the next month. But after that, it's too bad. I won't be able to help you. And don't rely on our engineering or technical staff to do it for you. They're busy and they forget sometimes. So just, I don't know, hop on and do it yourself. Yes.
Statement on that before you go on. So if you feel like there's anything unfair about how you think you're going to be charged, this cost activity, the cost activity adjustment, that is your mechanism to take care of that. And we want to encourage you to use it. We don't want you to feel like you've been slighted or been unjustly treated. So this is your way to request and document any unfairness about the billing system that you feel like is happening. So
Yes, and I'm
please
so
use this.
happy to help you.
Yeah.
I am your friend. Like, I want you all to have the best experience, and it helps me if we can all do this together. So it will never hurt to just submit one and see what happens.
I would suggest doing your cost adjustments immediately. So if there's an issue that day, it's fresh in your mind. Because it actually goes to Rachel, but she needs to talk to the staff and they approve it. It's fresh in the staff's mind. So I personally think you should be doing it the same day. But we are flexible. We understand that that can't always be done. That's just my suggestion.
Do you have any questions on these? Yes.
I have a question regarding the cancellation policy. So that means if I cancel more than 15 minutes, I will be also charged for 15 minutes or what?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to explain this. So you have, like when you make the reservation, it's in 15-minute increments. So if you cancel in the middle of one of those 15 minutes, you're just billed for the whole 15 minutes. But then after that, you won't be billed. Does that make more sense?
But if I canceled like an hour before my reservation, I will not be billed.
No, you won't be billed for anything. So if your reservation started at 10 and you canceled at like 9:50, you wouldn't be billed for anything. So. Are there any other questions? Okay, so for PIs and admins, I don't know if we have any in attendance, but you should immediately notify me of any changes to your students' projects. We are required to bill, our project that we're billing must match what the student is being paid from. So it's important that we communicate and do that correctly. Communicate with your students about their time in the lab, encourage them to act responsibly. And I just wanted to emphasize that the unused reservations are totally avoidable and nobody needs to have them on their invoices as long as you act responsibly and plan ahead and blah, blah, blah. So, and we encourage all of you just to ask questions and be involved in the billing process. Contact the billing staff if you have any questions. So I'm Rachel, if you didn't know that, and I'm kind of, you should come to me first. I work from home on Tuesday and Thursday, but you can call or text me, you can email me, just whatever you need to do. I'll have business cards by the cookies after this. You can grab one and it has my cell phone and email and everything. But if you can't get a hold of me, then come talk to Amy. It's right here. And then Ryan is like our Coral IT guru. He can help with technical problems and stuff. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes?
So if we do need to make a cancellation,
Yeah, absolutely. So the question was if you need to cancel a reservation but you don't have access to a computer, you can just call us and we can cancel it for you. So we'd be happy to. Oh, that's the end. Okay, any other questions? Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, so one more thing I just wanted to add is that how do we decide if we're going to accept your request for cost adjustment? Basically, if it's something that we do wrong, like Coral isn't working, or the tool or the equipment, or our fab isn't working well, then we will approve that. But if it's something that you did wrong, you didn't do your homework, you didn't put in the processing parameters right, don't bother submitting a request for that, because that's not something that we'll approve. Any questions on that? So we know that there's tons of problems with the equipment, and we have to go in and tweak it or adjust it or repair it, and those are the kinds of things that you would submit a cost adjustment request for. All right, we have an exciting workshop short course coming up in September. We've arranged with Kurt Lesker, some experts engineers from their business, to come out and give us 2 workshops. The first one is Introduction to Vacuum Technology, and you'll learn a lot about vacuum pumps and those technologies and how they work. And then the second half of the day is all about thin film deposition. So especially sputtering and e-beam evaporation. We want to invite all of you who are interested to attend. Amy will pass around a sign-up sheet. You can attend just one or the other if you don't have time to attend the whole day. We do need to get you on this list though, so that you, because they need to know how many to provide lunch for. So you can just stay for the morning and then for lunch, or come for lunch and then stay for the afternoon, or you can stay for the whole day. Just please let us know, but you can't just come for lunch only. Okay, and now we're going to turn the time over to Brian and Randy for some Surface Lab.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So we've got a number of new additions in the Surface Analysis Lab. A lot of stuff. I'm going to go pretty quickly. If anybody has questions about any of the things I'm talking about, please contact me and I'm happy to discuss. So a few new things. We have new environmental TEM holders we've added to our JEOL 2800. We have 3-dimensional EDS in that same instrument that's available. And again, these are new things that have come about over the past year. We've added ultraviolet photoelectron spectroscopy to the Kratos surface analysis tool as well. We'll talk about that. And then I'll turn it over to Randy, who's going to be talking about a new SEM that we have, as well as a couple of upgrades to the FIB. So environmental holders, this is very new, brand new. Ian and I, we just finalized this purchasing process last week. I think I have a few more gray hairs at the end of the process, but we are done. We expect this to ship within about 60 days. That's not exact. We'll be updating everybody via the website as well as emails when we have more specific dates in mind. But what can these things do for you in your research? Well, if I'm doing work with electrochemistry, I Syria catalysts, thus explaining the increase in activity. So the theory was always right, we just never had a way to measure and explain why. So that's exciting. So, that being said, moving along to three-dimensional EDS. So this is an existing capability that I'm showing here. This is two-dimensional EDS in our STEM. And this is looking at magnesium hydride material from Zach Feng's group in metallurgy. And what basically Zach Feng is doing is he's looking at hydrogen storage materials. Magnesium hydride is well known as an excellent material for hydrogen storage. The problem with it is that it has this high energy activation barrier, so we need to introduce catalysts into that material. And Zach's groups found that through the use of transition metals such as chromium, shown here, you can increase that activity tremendously. So what isn't understood is that as you go through successive hydrogenation, dehydrogenation cycling, that catalyst, in theory, should be migrating out towards the surface of the cluster, and two-dimensional EDS doesn't tell you this. This is a two-dimensional projection of a three-dimensional object. So with 3D capability, we can then measure it. This is a frame, a 3D projection taken from a tilt series that we acquired. Essentially, I tilt the sample, collect 2D EDS data, repeat, 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 get a stack of two-dimensional EDS spectra, and then reconstruct that as a three-dimensional object. Now giving us insight into those structure-function relationships that Zach's group was predicting, and showing that yes, indeed, we can demonstrate the transition metal particles are migrating out towards the surface after successive hydrogenation, dehydrogenation cycling. So, always a good thing when we can get theory and experiment together. That's good science. And last, we've added ultraviolet photoelectron spectroscopy to our surface analysis tool. And basically, UPS is a way to get at electronic structure properties of our materials. So I can measure things like the work function and the band gap energy of my materials very accurately, to accuracy on the order of 1/10 of an electron volt. So very precise indeed. And with that, I'll turn it over to Randy, who I don't see. So I'll just continue then. So we've added an older SEM to the Surface Lab. So Randy spent a lot of time fixing this up, and it is now available for you to use. We have a couple of images. This is integrated circuit shown on the FEI Quanta, and in comparison, we're seeing those same images on that same IC from our new JEOL 5910. So not quite a high resolution as the Quanta, but you can certainly image things that are kind of on the micron scale. As you can see, it's a little noisier. And right now we're proposing an introductory fee of $1 an hour. It's quite a deal. So we're going to see how that goes, and we're going to see if a lot of people sign up. We'll probably bump it up to the $15 an hour rate. If you think that this should be useful to you, that's a steal. Come on in, we can show you how to use it. It's really easy to use, and we'd love to see you get some good images with that. All right, so.
I want to introduce you to Ashish Chanana. He has agreed to serve as a volunteer as our lab liaison, and his responsibilities will be to collect feedback from all of you and to pass those on to the staff. If you don't feel comfortable coming to us directly for complaints or criticisms or suggestions, you can go through Ashish. And he will also be attending our staff meeting and facilitating our Nanofab user group meeting, which is something he's going to talk about now.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. So I'll be basically serving the role of a student liaison for the Nanofab, which basically means I'll be acting as a connection or as an intermediate between the staff and the Nanofab users. So main idea which we have right now is to have a meeting every month which will be held on 4th Thursday of every month. We call it as an Nanofab user group meeting, and this meeting is basically meant for basically hearing the concerns of users through the fab. So you can come over there and you can present our concerns to the fab, to the staff members about safety, about tool usage, about new processes you want to work on. So we basically encourage all of you to come to these meetings and discuss your concerns, because these will be the priorities which will be made for the staff members. They should know like what we want to do and what are our deadlines. So we really encourage all the PIs as well as the users to come over there and talk to us about the concerns. So far we had two such meetings for last 2 months, and you can also find the priorities on this Google document online. You can go over there and see what priorities have been there and what staff is basically working on. So you might be able to know like what things interest you also. So that will be quite helpful. Other idea which we want to implement from next meeting onward is to have a small technical talk, which will be 10 minutes or 15 minutes talk, about 10 to 15 slides by the users. You can basically come over there and present what we're doing in the fab. So we all should know, we will be able to know like what other users are working on. This will also facilitate new staff member collaboration as well as user-to-user collaboration. Because once we know what people are working on, we will be able to collaborate with them and see how we can help them. Now I'll turn over to Brian again, and he will continue.
Thank you. So essentially, if you have a critical need for your research inside the Nanofab, the clean room, or the surface lab, please plan on attending those meetings, and so we can prioritize our work based on the needs of our researchers. Brian Van Devner will be there, as well as other members of our staff, and you'll help us to say what's most important and what we should be spending our time working on. So we've had 2 of these meetings so far, and we've gotten, in the red you can see some feedback that we've gotten, and then in the purple shows what we've done to try and work on your needs. So we've installed a new sputter system, and we're working on new cathodes in the TMV. We've installed a new backside aligner, and we have also a dedicated printer inside the Nanofab offices. If you need to print something out on clean room paper, you're welcome to come in and plug in your laptop to that printer, and then carry in that clean room paper in with you. And then we've also generated a slide that you can use to talk about the Nanofab when you go to conferences. Any questions on this meeting? You're all welcome to come. If you're perfectly happy and satisfied with the lab, then you don't need to come. But if you want your voice to heard and your priorities, then please plan on attending that meeting. We'll send out an email monthly to remind you of the times when those are occurring. All right, and now if you're only use the surface lab, you're welcome to go get about your day. Otherwise, we will turn the time over to Steve.
So I just wanted to run through a few points on when you want to select the new 635 sputter system over maybe the other systems. So these are some of the features that you can see on it. We did select the standard, kind of what we figured were the high-use targets, the gold, chrome, tie, and aluminum. They do a fairly uniform coating over an 8-inch surface. There's an 8-inch kind of a pallet tray that the wafers sit on to transfer from the load block into the chamber. So it's great for coating 2 4-inch wafers in a single run. You can do co-sputtering. The Denton Discovery 18, you had to use an RF supply to do co-sputtering. This one you could select from 2 different DC supplies, or you could do an RF as well. Liftoff works well. It's got a water-cooled stage that helps keep that transfer pallet cool. So some of you have mentioned with some of the liftoff or sensitive materials, they see heating on the material during the sputter process. So this one should work a little better for you to avoid the heating. It's physically a separate component. We can put in the heated stage. The cooled stage is our standard configuration. The heated stage can go up to 500 degrees if you need to manage stress or grain structure. But it is about an 1.5 to 2 hour job to swap in and then chamber pump down. So you would have to arrange that ahead of time with staff. Another feature for those that have run it so far, I think you've been pleased with the quick run time. It'll transfer, pump down the load lock and transfer into the main chamber and pump down in under 5 minutes. And that's to our kind of standard base pressure of 1 × 10⁻⁶ torr. So if you do need a high purity deposition and need to go to a lower base pressure, this would give you an option too. You just have to put that lower base pressure in your recipe and plan on allowing a little longer pump down time. We do have an RGA available. We haven't really used it yet, but if you had a process that you needed to see a base pressure RGA before you started sputtering, that could be an option that can be arranged as well. So the operation is fully automated. The recipe's set up ahead of time before you start even pumping the load lock. So you've got to coordinate with staff and make sure you've identified what you want to do in your process. It could be set up to pump the load lock, transfer the wafer in, load it into the chamber. You've got an option for a pre-clean step and up to about 78 deposition steps. So if you saw the little introduction note we send out, we did have a user that's already done 78 different layers in one process. If you've tried to do the RF ignite on like a silicon dioxide target on the Denton Discovery 18, you know how finicky that can be to get the plasma to ignite and tune in. We've set this up and actually done an SiO2 process, fully automated. You don't have to mess around with gate valves or anything. This system also has a pre-clean option, so you can do a sputter clean on your substrate. It'll remove silicon dioxide at a rate of 11 nanometers per minute with an argon plasma and 100 watts. So if you do have a material that you're having adhesion problems with, for a substrate, the pre-clean might help that. And then it could do reactive sputtering where you can get near metallic deposition rates and creating a film. So for like SiO2, you could sputter with a silicon target. We have minimal experience with this. We're looking for opportunities to get better at it. So if you have an application where you need a dielectric film but need a thicker layer, this might be an option for you. Come and talk to us.
So this is with the new system, SiO2. SiO2 deposition is with the new system.
So SiO2 could be an option to use a silicon target and then reactively sputter with the oxygen supplemented the argon flow. Since silicon isn't a standard target, you'd again have to arrange with us to install a silicon target, and then we'd work together and set up that reactive sputtering process. Any other questions?
So on an application like that, I think everyone will find it reasonable to have a conversation between the requester and the staff. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish, right? Because with SiO2, obviously we have a lot of different options for depositing SiO2. And so before you go to that trouble, Steve and others are probably going to say, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? And let's make sure that this is the best way to get you the film that you need. Because this is a pretty expensive, if you wanted to do SiO2 reactively, that would be a pretty expensive way to do that, obviously. You want to have very specific reasons for going that direction. So that's one of the things that we want to encourage is that conversation. What are you trying to accomplish? Let us help you find the best way, most cost-effective way to get you what you need.
But it does give options for other films. I mean, that was just one example. Maybe you needed titanium nitride or something else. But just as a caveat, we do have a vanadium target in-house, but vanadium oxide is not allowed material in our fab right now. So we can't create hazardous materials and magically assume those are okay. So, any other questions?
All right, we are really making an effort to get your feedback and get to know what you're working on and work with you closer. So part of that effort is we've installed a process review meeting, and this is required for all new members that come in and sign up to use the facility, to use the clean room. And we send out a template to you, and then you fill it out with some graphs and images and descriptions and abstract and a cross-section profile of the device architecture that you're trying to build. And then we arrange a time to meet with you, and then you present that to us, and then we help you determine which equipment and which process settings and parameters will best help you to build your device. We're doing this every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. for new users, but we are also willing to meet with you. We'd like to meet with you if you have a new project you want to work on and begin a new architecture. Please email us and we'll send you the template to fill out, and then we'll arrange a time to meet with you individually, and some of the members of our staff will be there to help you. And then the second thing we want to do is get feedback from you on the processes, the non-standard processes, the more advanced processes that you have developed, that you've spent your whole research life developing. So we provide standard processes like just coating a layer of gold or DRI etching to a certain depth. But if you extend that to a different level, for example, the reactive sputtering that Steve was talking about, or co-sputtering, or something that it takes more time and effort, and you've identified process parameters and measurements and things to optimize your process, we would really like to get a write-up about that from you and then post it to our website. So Ryan can show you kind of where that will be posted. The goal of this is to enable future researchers to not have to reinvent the wheel, something that you've already done. So you can just take a part of your dissertation and just email it to me, and we will post it here, just the fabrication part of it. This is a request that we've had from new faculty and new users, and so that it will get their grad students up to speed a little bit faster for some of the more technical processes. Ryan, would you mind clicking on Design a Process? I think a lot of you know about this little app that Ryan has designed, but if you don't, it's very, very useful for etch rates and deposition rates. For example, if you want to use the new Denton 635 and you don't know what the gold deposition rate is, you can just type in, click on that, and then type in your desired film thickness and the power that you're going to use, and it will automatically do the calculations for how much time you need to input into the recipe. As Steve said, the new Denton is completely recipe driven, so you load your samples, you click go on the recipe, you walk back, and you come back a half hour later and it's all coded for you with multiple steps and everything. It's really pretty nice. In addition to these automatic calculations, you can add this to a run card, a run sheet, and then it will generate process steps. So you can put in photolithography process, deposition process, etch process, and then you can print that out and take that into the clean room with you, or you can send that to your phone. Can you look at that? And printer-friendly version, let's see that one. Yeah, so this is what your run card would look like. So you can, you'll have all the process parameters there that you need, and just carry that into the fab, put it in your clean room notebook.
All right, so there's an app for that. Can you believe it, right? It's for sputtering. So what are the dangers that you might perceive with taking, running this and saying, okay, I need etch rate or deposition rate. Here's the dep rate. Here's the thickness. Here's the power, and then you plug that into the recipe on the tool, and you stick your device in that you've just spent 3 weeks of your life working on to develop it to get it to this point. What kind of dangers? Anybody have any red flags they'd like to bring up here? Well, printing on the machine, the chamber might have
So, and I think I've suffered with this too. Depending on your machine and what you're trying to do, you don't know, if you don't look at the previous record of the machine, what it has been done on it, and some user has done some process that would change your deposition and etching rates on this one. So,
very good. So what do you do about that then?
you check with the previous user what he has done. Hopefully he has recorded the correct information.
Okay, yeah. So there's a couple of points here that we want to make. One is try to figure out and confirm yourself what has the tool been used for before you're getting on it, before you make a critical process run. Another point is there's data available, and then the question is how good is that data, right? So ultimately, what are you going to do before you put in your money device, the device that you spent 3 weeks of your life or a month on? What are you going to do? Sorry?
The dummy device.
Yes, yes. So say that right in here.
The dummy device to test the film on a substrate. You don't need them. If it's okay, then you can.
Any questions? You understand what she's talking about? Do a test run. Validate the operating parameters of the tool. Is the etch rate, is the deposition rate really what that model said it was going to be, or is it close? Is the etch rate what you thought it was going to be? Before you put in your real device, take some precautions, because there's a lot of variabilities. This is not I came out of the semiconductor industry where one machine was used for one process and that did one thing over and over and over again, and we did process monitoring, process control monitoring, statistical process control, etc. Those are great tools in a manufacturing environment. They don't apply here. All right, but there are some other things that you can do. Do you want to talk about run data reports? Why don't you talk about run data reports?
Yeah, in fact, many of you, I've shown this to you, but yeah, right here on this page, we've got, all the data you enter into Coral on the disable is logged permanently. It is in an electronic database. It's only as good as the data that you include or enter, which is unfortunate, but you'll see here with that link, you can access every tool individually, and if we go one more, it'll let you download that data in various formats, a CSV file, an Excel file. Okay, let's go to the Denton 635, the new one. Okay, and go ahead and, okay, yeah, the combined sheet. Frankly, I use this all the time. And it's to your benefit to do this as well. One, it's your permanent logbook on the work you did. Okay, if you lose your paperwork and your notes, it doesn't matter. If you've got it logged here, you can always recall it and get access to it again. Also, this is now the data as far as what the previous user did in the tool. And you can also use this now to help confirm how you want to run your process. If you can look through this history and see another user, another member of the lab did something very similar to what you want to achieve, you've got a template to follow. You've got information already available. So we continue to encourage you to enter this data, enter it promptly and accurately. There are times you cannot take the measurements right away, but you can always go back later and add that data. It's a run adjustment. And in some cases, we are requiring you to do that because we need that data. In fact, let me go to the equipment pages now, for example. Let's pick a different furnace today. Go to the LTO. Okay, what we're doing in some cases, I've been able to do it for the LPCVD furnaces, is on the equipment page itself, because we run consistent monitors in that tool, we are updating every so often an actual run chart of how consistent that tool performs on that fixed condition. Okay, so we're adding this to other tools as we can and as it makes sense. But again, this is very valuable for you because you can see in this case, okay, yeah, there's a slight climb in the deposition rate over time. I mean, you've got process control people look at things differently than others, okay? But there's other things that happen in here, but the short of this is you can see approximately what the deposition rate is as you're getting ready to run the tool. And it looks like, you know, the last 6 or 7 runs are pretty consistent right there, about 218. Okay, what's your likelihood of being able to dial in your process right where you want it? It's much higher because the data is there to review and verify. This is where we, again, I've already said it 3 or 4 times, we will continue to repeat this over and over again. Please, please measure your results, measure it accurately, and report it. It's to your advantage as much as it is to everybody else's. You want to confirm the thickness of your deposition run. You want to confirm the etch rates because that has a direct impact on your device. You really hate to get that device to the end of line and test it and find out it doesn't work, and then do the failure analysis activity on it and find out, oh gee, I only got 1 micron of aluminum on it and I expected 5. It's a little bit late to learn that. If you learn it at the time, you've got a chance to recover. Okay, I probably said enough there.
All right, now everybody has this thing all scoped out and memorized now. So on the unattended work-in process, we want to formalize a little bit what's been going on for quite a while. So everybody that's used the Heidelberg, you probably left a box there with a note to put your wafer in. Now we want to make it a little more, apply that to other tools and make a tag that can be used in other places to do that same thing. About every week or 2, somebody will come by and say, I want to leave my wafer in the oven and bake it overnight. So this would be another application for this. So this is going to provide both staff and other users some idea of what's going on in that tool. And the member leaving the work should complete it, because the other thing you're doing is you're either authorizing removal of your samples or you're denying that. If you're denying it, we want you to have a reservation in Coral and the tool enabled. In the case of a lot of the lithography ovens, right now there's not a charge for those, but we still want you to do an enable and a reservation if you're using those over a long period to show that your material's in there. If somebody else wants to use it, they should check and see when you're going to be done with your process. So, any questions on this tag? Will everybody help us and try and use it? I think it'll be beneficial to everybody in here. For instance, I've got one user that left a wafer in the Denton sputter overnight. It's all pumped down. If somebody would have come in during the night and wanted to use the tool, he left no instruction on whether they could take his sample out. So what are you going to do? So again, we really need you to use this tag. Thanks.
Where would we find this tag?
So, they will be posted in various bays and stuff sometime today.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay, they'll be in the little holders just like the pink chemical ID labels.
So the other little note that just popped up, if you value your work, you will complete this form regularly. Otherwise, you don't know what the user is going to do when they remove your parts or interrupt your process.
Just as a follow-up, yeah, the intent of this form is certainly when you know you're going to leave it for an extended period of time and not be there. If it were me, I'd almost be filling this out every time. Okay, that's how much I value my work. Another thing we're going to start to add, and this is a prototype example right here, is some information on our equipment that gives a better summary of what that tool is for. Okay, how to use it, some basic information as far as what the tool does, certainly who to contact if there's a problem with the tool. In this case, any preparation work that needs to be done, either to the samples or to the tool itself. But also, what we're going to start including here is materials that are allowed and forbidden from going into that tool. Kind of like what was said over here, you can unintentionally contaminate the next user's work, in some cases even by using an allowed material. But there's some things, and I'm throwing a furnace up here as an example, is glass. It can't handle the heat. It'll melt. It'll outgas. It'll cause all kinds of problems in the furnace. Metals will destroy a furnace. Or actually, it will destroy any electrical parts that somebody tries to put in that furnace later. And so we've got to be very, very careful with how we use the tools, what we allow in them. And we'll be spreading this out through the next several weeks, several months, to be able to provide adequate information at each tool so that we can avoid some questions and avoid some disasters. Okay. And in some cases, in fact, this is even going to extend into wet benches and spin rinse dryers because of certain things that could contaminate downstream equipment. Okay? Any questions on something like this? And again, this is a prototype, and if there's types of information that you want included on these, then please let us know and we'll find a way to do it. Okay? gee, I guess the next of it is still me. We're really here now to cover a major intent of this meeting, and that is the annual safety training. We are required by campus, by College of Engineering, through OSHA, to hold annual training for our user base, for our members. Okay, it's not something, it's not an option, it's a requirement that we need to comply with. So that's why you were here. And what's going to be required for you is, obviously you're here, I'm going to want you to go review the safety videos. Ryan, you might want to show them where to find those. And you should have seen them before, but you'll pick out a couple more things every time you see it. So please go through those. It's the four videos under safety and protocol. You are going to need to retake the safety test. Everybody's favorite. Okay. And you know where to find the answers for that. It's in the user guide, it's on the videos, or in some cases it'll direct you to a specific web page. We're not trying to hide information, we're not trying to make it difficult for you, we just want to make sure you know how to get the right answers, how to navigate our systems. And you will also be required to attend the College of Engineering safety training that will be presented by EH&S at a date we are not aware of yet. They typically hold that at the end of September. Because our lab is part of the College of Engineering, the College of Engineering requires that anybody using any lab in the college attend their training. And so when that is announced, you'll be informed of that, and you'll be required to attend that as well. Okay? Now, as far as other types of issues that we're going to cover today, there's a quick little snapshot, and we'll move on. We have kind of learned that we've been a little bit too lax with our dress code. Again, because we are a lab that contains hazardous materials, the college and EH&S has some rules that we have not followed. In part because we are in the clean room. However, not all of our facilities in the clean room. Irregardless, we need to comply with the campus rules. And the first item there is leg wear. Okay? Shorts are no longer allowed. Shorts, short pants, dresses, skirts, anything like that, we must be fully covered from basically the waist to the feet, to the ankles. Okay? So, what we're used to, sorry, no more. Some really short pants, sorry, can't do it anymore. Oh, that's a common style, right, with jeans? The ripped jeans, torn jeans. You pay extra money to buy used clothing. Okay, sorry, that becomes a safety hazard, or it does not provide adequate protection for you in our environment. Okay. Now, we're not done. Same thing is going to apply to shirts and blouses. Similar concept. Okay, they want as much skin covered as possible, and really from the shoulders to the pants. Okay, we can accept short sleeve shirts. They prefer long sleeve. Okay, But we'll accept short sleeve. Okay, so, might not be the right gender on that graphic, but that's okay. Okay, we have athletes that come in with that too. Sorry, can't do it. What's good? That's good. Any questions? Frankly, that's criteria. Most of you work in other labs on campus as it is. That's what you're required in those labs. We're just going to make sure it holds true here too.
Tony, do you want to comment on shoes as well?
I will mention shoes. We're not really changing the policy on shoes. Closed-toed, closed heel. What's hidden in that policy is you are supposed to be wearing socks. Stockings of some kind. Okay? But yeah, closed toe, closed heel is a common requirement. Comments? Okay, she shall listen to them later. I mentioned once already these chemical identification labels. I need to remind you all the time, please, please, please use them. It's not an option, it's a requirement for multiple reasons. Okay, if you are taking any chemicals out of its stock or supply bottle, or taking water out of the faucet and putting it into another vessel, somebody other than you needs to be able to tell what's in there. And the best, simplest, ideal way to do that is before you put the chemical in that vessel. Find one of these ID labels. They're not hard to find. Fill it out, then attach it to that vessel, to that container. Tape it. Don't put it under it. Tape it so that it's not going to wander. Then once it's affixed to the container, now put the chemical in it. It's that simple. You know, obviously we got the one exception to that. I can't let paper on a hot plate. So you need to make sure that the paper doesn't touch the hot plate. The control pad works fine in that case. I do want approval from a staff member if that material needs to stay for an extended period of time, specifically overnight. Because what we want to make sure of, do you really need it overnight? Yeah, you do. But let's make sure it's not out in the middle of somebody and going to impact somebody. We want to make sure that it's in a place that's going to be protected through the night and through other from the other activities that may occur in that work area. Okay, it's not just a pain. We're trying to make sure that your work stays protected. Okay. Yeah, that's one thing that I constantly, and you heard me remind you many times while in the clean room. Sometimes I'm nice about it. Okay? It's a big frustration for me. It is a huge frustration for me, and it needs to be done regularly, even if it's only for 5 seconds. Because things happen. The intent might be 5 seconds, but you get distracted. Somebody comes to talk to you, you wander away, maybe there's an evacuation, maybe staff needs to come by and do something in that wet bench. Well, we don't know what's there. The phone rings, anything happens, and people wander. You will remember, most of you, it was about 4 or 5 months ago, I sent out an email to the whole lab community saying, hey, look what I found today. There were 4 unlabeled chemical containers in the fab simultaneously. No, please. Okay, As much, I sometimes hesitate to do this, but I kind of need to remind people what we expect, okay? So, some of these you may remember from last year. And remember, you're on video. These are excerpts from the video, okay? And that's not the intent of the video, but I will take advantage of it, okay? So, what's wrong? Yeah, where's the PPE? What PPE is required? Speak loud.
Apron, yellow apron.
Okay, speak loud.
Yellow apron.
Keep going.
Well, helmet, safety glasses there. Blue neutral gloves and white gloves both.
Okay.
And
Okay. The graphic's going to come up in a minute. Yes. Okay. Oh, dang. Okay. Same day. Multiple people. Okay? There's your answer. Required. Always. Always. Can that be any clearer? White, you're already wearing the blue nitrile gloves. You're already wearing safety glasses to be in the clean room. You got to add the white nitrile gloves, the aprons, some of which are yellow, some of which are white. Okay? In fact, the yellow ones will likely disappear and we'll be using the white only. We're just purging our inventory. The face shield and gloves. Now you need to wear those every time you're doing anything in a wet bench. I also recommend that you make sure the gloves are good. Okay, fill them with some air. Act like they're a balloon and see if they leak. If those visors get dirty, remind my lab aides, get me a clean visor. Okay? In addition, if that apron is torn or damaged, throw it away. Get a new one. Okay? They are there for your safety. I used this example probably last year, I used it yesterday. How many of us drive? Really? Okay. How many of us wear our seatbelt every time we get in the car? Why?
safety.
Safety? Habit? Somebody said yesterday because they want to avoid the $250 ticket. Okay. It's safety, it's really prevention. Prevention against injury should you be involved with an accident. Okay? Now, anybody ever been in an auto accident? Dare I ask if it's your fault? Okay? It's often not your fault. You're the victim here. But the fact that you are wearing a seatbelt typically means your injuries are less. That's your seatbelt. It's there to prevent. It's there as a prevention so that should there be an accident, an incident that you may or may not be at fault for, the injury is minimized. And so, if you want to survive an auto accident, you got to wear your seatbelt. If you want to have a minimal experience, should there be one in the clean room, wear this PPE every time. And I even recommend it if you're watching somebody else in a wet bench, because you're putting an awful lot of confidence in their driving skills. Okay. Okay. What's wrong with this one? Unlabeled chemical. I have no idea what that stuff is. Well, theoretically I don't. I can probably guess, but I don't like to guess. Number two, there's nobody around to tell me. What's wrong with that one? No tape. It's not attached. Oh, plus, it's not really filled out. Okay? It's too easy for things like that to get moved around and never really know what it is. Okay, what's wrong with this one?
White gloves.
Yeah, actually, yeah. She's wearing white gloves. Uh-oh. Okay, anything else? Oh, thank you. Is that a place for chemicals? Is there a chemical identification label on that table? We only put chemicals where those large chemical ID labels are at. That's the only place. Not on tables. I want to toot my own horn here a little bit. Okay. Our chemical labeling system is an excellent system. Please follow it. Okay?
We've had people from around the world ask how to implement the chemical labeling system that Tony's put in place. It's pretty good.
Okay. It's a good system, and it can always be improved, but it's very effective and very simple. But there's no label on that table. Okay, what do we got here?
White gloves, not at a chemical spot.
Bingo. Okay, well, in fact, let's do this. He's wearing white nitrile gloves, right? What's he doing using a keyboard? So, those white gloves are there when you're working around the fume hoods, actually in the fume hoods or in the wet benches, although in the wet benches you got the black gloves on too. If you're wearing those gloves, you shouldn't be touching anything else. And if you need to wander away, take the gloves off. It's, yeah, it may drive our costs up a little bit, but I'd rather drive our costs up than to have to port somebody over to the ER. I've got a funny story. I've been in the book industry now for, when did I start? 1978? Okay, early 80s, we had a production supervisor. Bruce Gray was his name. I probably shouldn't have said that. Okay. And this was in the days before we wore smocks in the clean room, early 80s, late 70s. We didn't wear the face masks. He was chewing on his pen one day, like many of us do. Well, he had to go to the ER. Somehow, he got HF on his pen cap. Okay. Be careful. Be safe. The least unexpected thing can happen. Okay. Oh, dang. We missed that one. It's not yellow, so it's not as easy to tell. But that's a chemical apron that he's draped on that chair. Do you want to be the one sitting on that chair next? Okay. What's wrong here? Oh, I knew this one gets everybody. Ignore the people. It's got nothing to do with the people.
There's yellow apron in the...
Okay? On that bench, it's even a bigger problem because it blocks the bottle wash. In the other benches, it may block a tank, a developer tank, a stripper tank, an etch tank that you really want to use. So it presents two problems. Number one, it is too close to the edge. It's too easy to bump that beaker off of that hot plate. Plus, it's not being able to, the wet bench, the exhaust mechanism may not be able to pull all those fumes out the way they should. So there's a couple of problems with that. On these benches, you notice there's a recessed area over here. That's really, if you're going to use a hot plate in those benches, that's the best place to put it. On the Wayfab bench, that whole deck surface is okay, as long as it's not too close to the edge. Oh. What's wrong with this?
Not labeled empty.
Not labeled empty. Okay? Not labeled empty. These were actually pulled out of the trash. And when Lorenzo finds those in the trash, what does he do? He has to do a bottle wash. Because it's not labeled. Okay? It's not that hard to label them. So, in summary, wet bench or fume hood, always wear the required PPE. What's required at a fume hood? White gloves. What's required at a wet bench? Everything. Okay? Can you wear everything at a fume hood? If you're more comfortable with it, yes. Okay? This is minimum required PPE. Okay, always remove the white nitrile gloves before you go touching other items. That could even be your pen, or your phone, certainly a keyboard, or a chair, maybe your sample holder. Okay? Please don't wander while you're wearing the chemical aprons. Okay? Stay right in that immediate area. If you're working in the photolith bay and you're running something through the sputtering tool or the RIE, you really shouldn't walk between the bays while you're still wearing that apron. Okay? Yes?
What about when you're getting chemicals from the storage things with the carts?
I'm sorry?
Okay, so when you go get chemicals from the transfer closets and then drive the cart around, you should be suited up with the aprons and stuff?
The general policy with that, because those are still unopened, sealed bottles, the white nitrile gloves are adequate. Okay? However, I will always say, if you want to wear more than that, I will never complain about it. Okay? But the white nitrile is the bare minimum with that. Because again, those are sealed bottles still at that point.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I was the new one. I recently joined.
So, I was wearing the whole kit, PP for wet bench, and I wanted to use the fume hood, and then I went with the whole kit over there, and someone more experienced one, he discouraged me why you are touching with the black gloves, because I didn't know. But you said it's okay, it's fine.
Yeah. These are the minimum, yeah, the white nitrile gloves is the minimum. If you want to wear more, yes, you can wear more. And I know in that particular bay, people are going back and forth to the fume hood and the wet bench on a fairly regular basis. I would recommend, bare minimum under those situations, if you're going between the two of them, wash the gloves. Rinse the gloves off, the black gloves. Okay, rinse them and dry them as a bare minimum. You may want to take them off before you go over to the fume hoods. Okay, I don't have any that are dedicated just for the fume hoods on the black chemical resistant gloves. We may have to look at something like that in the future. If I did, they wouldn't be black. Okay. With that said, for those that have been in the clean room for a while, you notice the gloves have changed. I promised it for a long time, didn't I? Well, what are your thoughts? They're good? They're better? They're perfect? No. They are better. We do believe they are better. They're actually the same material, they're just half as thick. The challenge is there is no perfect glove for our environment. And so that's what we've got. I know, sorry for those of you that have hands smaller than mine. We've got the smallest size available in there. We've only got 2 sizes, and the smallest is one of them. And it's actually the one that I prefer to wear. Okay, we've made what improvement we can. We'll still look at other options, especially if you have some suggestions along those lines. But those gloves do provide a lot more flexibility than the thicker ones. And so you should be okay with those. Okay? Anyway, we're wandering again. Please don't sit on the chairs while you're wearing an apron. Label the chemicals always. 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 Only put them where it's authorized. Hot plates, I already mentioned that. Please make sure you label the rinsed bottles before they go in the trash. Rachel and Amy, do you want to take a minute right now?
She already said that before.
She already, does everybody know what's going around right now?
Sign up sheet. It's coming around. It's right here.
It's the sign out sheet. So that's going to give you credit for being here. Okay, buddy system. Remember the buddy system. I have to enforce it. It's a campus rule, college rule. I'm in a little bit better position to enforce it than many other labs, but I do. And understand that red statement right there. There are no exceptions for the duration or the activity. Don't slip into the fab for 2 minutes at midnight just to pull your samples out of the tote. That's not good. You're responsible for your own buddy. They have to be an authorized user. They need to remain in the clean room with you. And please communicate back and forth every 15 minutes or so. Make sure everybody's safe. Make sure everybody's healthy. You know, I was a college kid, okay? I remember going, well, you guys have done it too. 3 days on 8 hours sleep. Okay? I went to bed 4 times to get it. It's easy for somebody to just get totally wiped out in there. If you're that tired, you shouldn't be in there, for one thing. But if you are, you're there to help each other out, make sure everybody's doing okay. So please, please, sometimes all you need to do is make eye contact. You know everybody's okay, but please do it. There are hazards and dangers in the clean room far beyond just the chemicals. Yes?
Does this policy technically apply to all labs on campus?
I can't say that. Okay? It is, yeah, I can't say that. It really, a lot of it depends on what's in that lab. And yeah, the policies do vary from college to college and from lab to lab a little bit. But because of what we have in ours, the overall responsibility is nobody's alone. Okay, yes?
So, I'm confused about that authorized. So, like, I'm new user, so do I have to get separate?
Do you have you gone through the training? Do you have card access to the clean room?
I have access. Yeah, so I'm authorized for off hours, like after.
If you have after hours access, then you are an authorized buddy. Okay? Nobody, people are not automatically granted. I'm sorry?
Yeah, he's new.
He's new.
So I'm not authorized yet.
Not yet. Okay? New users are authorized from 8 to 5. When you want after-hours access, you have to request it. And then if you have after-hours access, then you are an authorized buddy. Okay? But if your card gets you in the gowning, if the card gets you, it's not the gowning room. If the card gets you from the gowning room into the clean room, after 5 o'clock, you're an authorized buddy.
But
And put it this way, you would know, if you're not, then you're going to ask me for that privilege. And we discuss it as a staff before we give it to you.
so if I'm using sputtering machine or something like evaporation, so if I start working at 3 o'clock and then it crosses 5, and then do I have to like go and ask for the permission, or I should leave once I'm finished?
And we're somewhat, yeah. The question is, and we've covered this in the past, if you need to stay, if you're a day use only user and you need to stay in the clean room after 5 o'clock because your work is still in progress, what do? Okay? We have a little bit of leeway with that. The card access that I can control is entering the clean room. Anybody who has access to enter the clean room has 24/7 access to leave the clean room. I can't trap you in there. Okay? So you will be able to leave even if it's 8 o'clock. But you're going to want to finish that work as quickly as possible after 5 o'clock and make sure somebody's going to stick around to be with you. Okay? You're not really allowed to be somebody else's buddy at that point, but they can be yours. And then finish as promptly as you can. That is still something, I get a daily report on who's on any after-hours activity. And I will make we'll make inquiries and communication paths as necessary along those lines. But does that kind of satisfy or answer your question? There is a leeway. We're not going to trap you in the clean room. We don't want you to interrupt your process unless it's going to take you till 9 o'clock. Okay? If there's nobody that's going to be able to help you until the time that's done, then you're going to have to interrupt it.
Okay, one last question. On the same line. So if I want to get access of hours, so like as a new user, can I just apply? Can I request it? Or you count experience? I mean, you guys decide when I can apply.
Yeah, the question again is at what point or on how to obtain the after-hours access. It's in the policy guide. Basically, you do request that of staff. And as a staff, we review that request. Okay? We want to make sure that that user, that person, that member is capable of running their process and their equipment without help. Okay, it's one thing to be an authorized buddy, it's another thing to be running to be running the tool and always require help from staff. Okay, if you're independent enough to be able to run your processes, then you're likely to get that approval. Okay, but we typically want people to get some experience in the clean room before we do that. Now, if you've got experience in another clean room, that can help sometimes be beneficial because we've got a little bit more confidence. Okay, but it's really on a case-by-case based on how that member interacts with staff and how that member can perform their tasks, their research activities without additional assistance. That's in part really to protect you as well, because if you've got something going on 7 o'clock at night and it's not working right, staff's not going to be around to help. Okay, any other questions with that? Okay, a couple of little tidbits here on general safety. Sharps, okay, you've got all the, you know the Sharps bins. Please take advantage of those. Use those for anything that is or could become sharp. We don't want to keep cutting Lorenzo's hands as he empties the trash. Okay, that includes microscope slides from the sputtering tools. That includes even a whole mass that you're going to throw away. It includes a whole wafer that you don't need anymore because it will break in the trash. So do that. Report a safety concern or event. We are not a perfect lab, no lab is. Issues may occur from time to time. That may be the behavior, the activities of another member. It may be a tool. It may be something with the facility. If you observe something that raises your concern, if the hackles on your neck go up, you need to report that, okay? And even though you may report it to staff verbally, please utilize the online form, okay? Yeah, report a safety concern right there. Please fill out the form. That way it goes into a database, we get an email relative to it, and we can address it. We're a good staff, we work well together, but we sometimes forget to tell each other on certain items. And so when that happens, then we lose record of that event, and it can't be addressed permanently. And what's more valuable to me with this is if it's a repeat occurrence, then I can document how often it's repeating, and now that raises the priority to get it resolved. Okay? Use for any concern. Also, use for near misses. If there's an occurrence that you're involved with or observed that could have been really, really bad, but wasn't, please report it. Okay? Paul actually wanted me to add this on because of an incident that happened at the University of Hawaii a few months ago, where there was some near misses that basically got ignored. Then one day it got bad, and it was no longer a near miss, it was a major event, and a researcher lost an arm. Okay? Near misses are worth reporting. Even things that you're not sure of if it's a near miss, please report it. Because again, it gives us the ability to review our systems, maybe add some additional training material so that we can prevent that from becoming a major event in the future. Okay? General comments, think lab safety. You're here to do research, but your personal safety is more important than anything else. We're in an environment that does have hazards, not just chemicals. There's high voltage, there's radiation, there's laser, okay? Things that can harm you. Sometimes just the dry air in there, the lack of water because you've been in there too long. Physical issues can present a hazard. Please take care of yourself. Please make sure that what you are doing is not going to affect the safety of somebody else. Follow the rules. If you don't know, please ask. If you don't know, look through the user guide. There's probably an answer in there. There's no valid excuse for ignoring any of the rules. Okay. Also, you've seen the users in lab page. Okay, we display that rather regularly. If you're in the clean room, your name better be on that. Okay? That's again how we control, or how, should there be an evacuation, I need those names. And if you're tucked away in there, hidden somewhere, and nobody knows about it, you may not be coming out. At least not in the way you want to. Okay. So please do that. If you don't have a card access, then you're really not going to be going in. A couple of quick things. I mentioned this. I'll continue to mention this. I'm from industry, just like Ian. They fire people on the spot when they touch their wafers with their hands. Okay? It's a huge contaminant to your devices. It generates particles, it transfers sodium, and now that gets transferred into the equipment processing tools, which then in turn damages the devices you're trying to make. Okay? Please use tweezers. Vacuum wands that we've got a few, use them. Your hands are not a good source. By the time you walk from the gowning room to your storage tote, you've probably already touched your face a couple of times with your hands. You don't even realize it. You don't even know it. You're adjusting your safety glasses. You got an itch. You're adjusting the face. You just contaminated that glove. And now it's going to transfer to the wafer, to the sample, which then transfers into the sputtering tools. It transfers into these chambers that we're trying to control what's going in them. Okay? And please clean up after yourself. I really get frustrated when I see this for two reasons. Number one, there's no chemical label. Number two is that user says, oh, gee, it'll evaporate. Somebody will take care of it. Well, yes, it does evaporate. And yes, somebody does take care of it. But it's your responsibility. Okay? General equipment, if it's broken, please use the reported problem in Coral. Don't try to fix it. And again, that tool information sheet that we're developing, that will provide you again with some additional information on what can and cannot go in that tool. Other than that, I know I sound like a broken record and I sound like I'm the doomsayer. I'm not. We're really here to make sure that you stay safe and that you are successful with your work. And as we work together as a community, we take a little bit of extra time to replace a pair of gloves or put on the apron, wipe it off before I hang it up. Those are the things that will prevent somebody else from, in some cases yourself, from having a really bad day. And it's worth the effort. Everybody's happier, everybody's more successful with what's going on.
Thank you, Tony. So, before you clap, that was a nice gesture. Any comments or questions? Is there anything that you learned today that you didn't already know some other time? Any comments? Okay, now clap. So, thank you all.
Thanks.
Even though he didn't from 2008, for us, you're the extension, especially by senior guys.
Sign up or sign out?
Now, I'm very happy with questions. So you still have to, he's good, some mobilize. Each other on ourselves.